Tables, check. Menu is all set. Power is good. Grogu and a cat. Adorable. Oop, incoming transmission. Oh, it's Stephanie K. Hey, Stephanie, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you guys?
Great, great. We're here with Stephanie K, the head of an amazing podcast right on so many different channels that you can get from. Stephanie, why don't you tell us where all of our viewers and listeners can hear your podcast and watch your podcast?
Really easy. I am live on Monday nights at 10 o'clock East, and you can either watch me on YouTube or Facebook. I simulcast, so I'm live on both of those. You guys can chat at me. I answer questions. And then after that, that's where they are. You can find them at any point after that.
So, Stephanie, I have to ask, what is the 7062? We know about the NX-01 being the Enterprise. What made you go with 7062?
You know, so many people have been asking me that lately, and I don't like to be mysterious, but those are just some numbers that are very personal to me. That when I decided I wanted to do a podcast and I wanted to kind of lean into my love of Enterprise, I picked NX. And then I thought, well, I don't want to just do random like 03 or 04. So I just went with some numbers that have personal meaning for me.
So, Stephanie, how long have you been doing podcasting?
I've been doing podcasting for about, 5 or 6 years. I started with a very generic podcast that just covered all of entertainment. And then back in it feels like forever ago, 2016, I decided at some point late in 2016 that I wanted to focus on Star Trek because my love of the franchise had gotten reunited over the 50th anniversary.
50 plus years of Star Trek, an amazing legacy. You have Doctor Who has nearly 60 years. This is their 60th anniversary for Doctor Who. So we're excited for that. We're going to have the Connecticut Whovians at the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience, but who's also going to be there? Stephanie, you're going to be at the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience. We are so excited. We're in our 4th year, and this is our first year we're having professional podcasters like yourself at our show. What does it mean to you to be coming up from New Jersey to Connecticut? If I remember correctly, you have some roots in this area, don't you?
I do have a lot of roots in that area. I have family up there. In fact, I have family that lives only about half an hour away from where you guys are going to be. I love New England. I've loved New England my entire life. I lived there for a little while back in the early 2000s. So being able to have a chance to come back up to the area is huge for me. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited. This is my first convention experience as my podcast. So I'm really excited to kind of see what that feels like to have my own booth and kind of, meet new people, hopefully bring in some new fans.
We met a few years ago at Terrificon. We were walking around in some of our Star Trek getup, my twin brother and myself, and we ran into you in front of one of your other friends' booths and started talking Trek. And from there, like, who doesn't love talking Star Trek? Now, you just mentioned this is going to be your first convention having a booth for the podcast, but you're not naive when it comes to conventions. You do a lot with conventions, don't you?
I have done so much with conventions for so many different groups that I've worked with. In fact, one of the reasons I was so excited to meet you guys at Terrificon is because I hate going to conventions as just a person, because I don't know what to do with myself because I usually work them. And honestly, the big reason I was even up at Terrificon is to go see my friends from Land of the Lost, because they were there that year. So that's why I was up there, and I just didn't really know what to do with myself. But since 2016, I worked Star Trek Las Vegas for 2 years. And then I ended up working with some other groups at their booths. And now I'm finally getting my own booth. So yeah, I kind of have, at least once a year, I tend to do a Convention 101 podcast, because I've just learned from the experience, from all of my vast experiences over the last few years, exactly the best ways to kind of maneuver and how to prepare yourself if you're going to go as a person, if you're considering volunteering, what you should know before you take that leap. Because the big thing that I always tell anybody, especially when they're volunteering for creation conventions, don't think you're going to get to hang out with your favorite celebrity because you're a volunteer.
Yeah, for the people who are watching this, Creation is the group that does the big Star Trek Las Vegas convention every year. And that's amazing that you've been out at that convention. That's on my brother's and my bucket list to get out there. Even better, we would love to get them out to the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience and get all the big Star Trek names to our show too. Speaking of Star Trek names, you've had the opportunity to meet quite a few different people, including Sirach Lofton, Nicole DeBear. Who else have you met?
Oh my gosh. The entire list. Let's see. John Billingsley. Let's start. Actually, you know what? Let's back up even further. I've met Tony Todd. I worked with Tony Todd at one of the first conventions that I ever volunteered for, and that wasn't even a Star Trek convention. I just got really lucky. Bill Mumy, who we all know from Lost in Space, but also was in an episode of Deep Space Nine. Nicole DeBoer, Connor Trenier, and Dominic Keating were kind of like the first three people that I met that I actually had any sort of connection with, I guess is a good word, because I saw them in 2016 when they were in New Jersey at a convention that was down the street for me. And then when I saw them again the following year in Vegas at my first Vegas, they all remembered me. So there's nothing cooler than that. I've also met John Billingsley, who is great, and he did my podcast. He now knows who I am, which that was awesome. Sirach, like you said, Jeff Combs, Max Grodenchek, Robin Curtis, J.G. Hertzler, Robert O'Reilly, are two of my really good friends. Like I said, Wesley Ure, Kathy Coleman, and Phil Paley, who were in Land of the Lost, for those of you that remember Sid and Marty Krofft mornings on Saturdays. And they actually have a Star Trek tie-in because they had writers. When Star Trek went off the air, a lot of the writers ended up writing for Land of the Lost, including Walter Koenig, who I actually just met when I was out in LA. I had a lovely conversation with Walter. I didn't take a picture because I got so wrapped up in just chatting with him. Yeah, so I've just been really, really, really fortunate to just meet so many amazingly talented people. And God, I can't believe I was friends with Chase Masterson, who is one of the hardest working women that you will ever meet.
She is much more than just a Dabo girl.
Oh,
now,
so much more.
Your fortune has gotten you into a very prestigious place within the world of podcasters. For you are actually the after show for an amazing production, the Shuttlepod Show. Tell us about that.
Okay, so the Shuttlepod Show was started just over a year ago. It was February 13th of 2022. It was the brainchild of Mark Cartier, who used to work for Paramount, and he's a producer, and he's friends with Connor Trenier. And Connor and Dominic, you know, a lot of people for a long time have been telling the two of them with their chemistry and their real life friendship that they should be going into podcasting. And Mark, being a producer, ended up talking to Connor about it. And it's like, we're not going to do a podcast. We're going to do an actual, like a show, an interview show. And so on the anniversary of the episode Shuttlepod 1 last year, they kicked it off with a table read of Shuttlepod 1. But that's where Shuttlepod Show kind of started. And it got, you know, of course, with Connor and Dominic hosting it, it kind of took off pretty quickly. Me being friendly with them and wanting to support them in all of their endeavors, I started watching it and I really started enjoying it myself. And then this past October, I do a little bit of convention booking on the side, and I had booked J.G. Hertzler and Robert O'Reilly into the Hollywood Show, which is an event that happens, I want to say 3 times a year out in Burbank. So me being the aggressive person that I can be when I really want something to happen, I just started reaching out to Mark Cartier, the producer of the Shuttlepod Show. I'm like, I know that the guys love JG. He's going to be out in LA. Let's see if we can do a Shuttlepod Show shoot with JG. I mean, I'm sure you guys really would want to have him on the show. And Mark loved the idea. Unfortunately, Connor was in New York for a vacation at the time, so he can't shoot it without Connor. But Mark still really wanted to meet JG and at least say hello. So I got them on the list, and the last couple of hours of the Hollywood Show, they came out to meet JG and Bob. And I just ended up, you know, striking up a conversation. He brought Erica, who is the third host of the Shuttlepod Show, and his partner. She's amazing. And the three of us just immediately hit it off. We started talking about some things, started talking about working together. And anybody that watches my show knows that for me, I love when things happen organically.
The only time that
My
I had
interview
a moment
style is the same
was
as Connor and Dominic's. It's
there
organic
was an
conversation.
episode,
It's
maybe
not a
the third or
Q&A. Like
fifth season,
I don't marry
where they
myself to a
say,
list
"Hey,
of
Michael,
questions.
or
So when things happen
Rick, is it your
organically,
goal
that's my
to own a
favorite.
lawnmower?"
That's my favorite
And they would
thing,
try to
because
do
you
this,
feel
and
like
I
if
went, "No."
you feel like that's
And
meant
they
to
want to
be,
order
if
one
it
to
just
me. I'm not gonna,
happens
and I
without
read the script
and
and
that's just kind of what happened with the
it's
Shuttle Pod
original.
show after Mark and Eric and I met, and it just sort of evolved into calling it the after party, because Mark started showing up in my chats. Since it's a live show on YouTube, he just started showing up in the chats, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And now it's just a thing. We're kind of like, peanut butter and jelly. We just go really good together.
My favorite sandwich, I could eat it morning, noon, and night, peanut butter and jelly. Now, thanks to Mark, you're going to be bringing some very nice trinkets to your booth at the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience. What can our event goers expect to see when they come and meet you at the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience?
When they come and meet me at Quiet Corner, they are going to have the opportunity to purchase some very unique 8x10s of Connor, Dominic, and Erica autographed. Mark's already told me he's got the signatures on them, so he just needs to pop them in the mail and send them out to me. And they're going to be very reasonably priced. And these are unique because he took them specifically for the Shuttle Pod show. So they aren't going to be you're not going to see them in the uniform like the one that you're modeling. You're going to see them as they are now. All, kind of the way you would see them if you started watching the Shuttle Pod show. And like I said, I will have them for a very reasonable price at my booth.
Reasonable price is our motto. Well, actually, our motto is experience the experience. But reasonable price is our second motto when it comes to the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience. General admission is only $10, and so we try to keep everything evenly priced. And while you were talking, I was looking at my pad here, and according to the GPS on this pad, Pomfret, Connecticut is about halfway between the West Coast and Dominic's home over in England. So I'm just saying, if he ever needs to do a layover, he's more than welcome at our show too. I'm just saying.
On the way to Leicester, he could stop by. I'll let him know the next time I see him.
Sounds good. I even have a room that I'd be more than happy to set him up at my brother's house.
There you go. There you go. Dom, if you need to stop over somewhere on the way to Leicester. Yep. If he ever gets homesick.
Yeah, my brother just gave me the thumbs up. He's the guy behind the camera. So, Stephanie, we are so excited to have you coming to the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience. The background that you're bringing to your table is going to be absolutely amazing. I can't wait to see people talking with you at the show. And I understand you're going to also be doing part of your podcast, or if not a full podcast, from the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience, aren't you?
Well, I actually got everything I need to be able to do a live show. I have to give a shout out to all of my amazing patrons and supporters, because I put together an Amazon wish list. And me doing this would not be possible without some of them helping me out to get what I need for my wish list to be able to do a live event mobile, from somewhere. So I've been testing everything. It looks good. Like I said, my shows are usually on Monday nights, but I have been known to do pop-ups. So yeah, I will definitely be doing something live from the show. If somebody wants to say hi, if somebody, always wondered what it would be like to be interviewed, I'm more than happy to do that for them. It would be fun.
And in the world of podcasts these days, it's important to point out that as you as a podcaster, you don't get paid to do this. Your money comes from your patrons, from your fans of the show.
Yeah.
Doing an Amazon wish list or sending you money. That's how you make your living when it comes to this podcast. So hopefully we can help you at the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience get some added fans to your show, get you a few added dollars in that pocket of yours. And as a thank you for giving you some money, we'll also have you selling those amazing 8x10s from the Shuttle Pod show. We're all very excited here. I'm losing thought and words to what to say, because I'm so excited to have you coming on April 29th, just a week away from the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience today. And then it's 10 to 5 that we're going to have the doors open. General admission is only $10. Now you can get your tickets at theqcexperience.com. at Chubby Dog Coffee Company in Putnam or Grill 37 in Pomfret. Stephanie, I want to say thank you very much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you in just 1 week at the Quiet Corner Sci-Fi and Comic Experience, where we're all going to get to experience the experience with you, Stephanie, and your podcast right here in Pomfret at Grill 37. Thanks again, Stephanie.